Hello, I'm Sean McAngus, and welcome back to the Highland League podcast. This is season 3, episode 22. Before we get into this episode, don't forget to subscribe on your chosen podcast platform to keep up to date with the latest episodes. Today's guest is Buckie Thistle defender Innes McKay. In this interview, he talks about his youth days at the Vale and Buckie, moving into the juniors, the jump up to the Highland League, and much more. Hope you enjoy this interview.
So what's your kind of earliest memories of kind of playing football as a youngster, you would say?
Probably my earliest memories come from seven-a-side tournaments with Buckie. Like the Buckie Youth Development, it's probably seven-a-side tournaments with them. And that was like playing for a team. And then other memories would just be playing with my brother Finlay out in the back garden. That's what kind of got me going. And then later on, my other younger brother Charlie, but he's a good bit younger than both of us. So mostly it was just me and Finlay to start with. I mean, that was good. It was just, me being the Alice breeder, I kind of roughened them up a bit. So I'm thinking they'll be good players as well, just because I've kind of bullied them into being good. So, but no, it's definitely seven-a-side tournaments with Buckie and stuff. Going to galas every Sunday it was. So that was my probably earliest memories for football. So aye.
Yeah, would you say you were always competitive even at that age?
Very. I've always been do or die, kind of like you win. Win is the only option really when you're, even if it's just a game of rock, paper, scissors. I mean, I always try to, I'm probably the most competitive person you'd probably meet. So, yeah, definitely been competitive since a very young age.
But you said that you used to watch Buckie games. Was that something you did a lot, or?
As much as I could, we used to go most Saturdays. Probably the biggest memory for Buckie games would be the Vale versus Jags title decider. I think it was, I can't remember what year, I think maybe 2011, 2013, something like that, one of them. When Andy Lowe scored the free kick to win, that's probably my best memory of going and watching Buckie, just because of the occasion. It was an absolutely packed out crowd, and for the game to end the way it did with Andy Lowe scoring that free kick, it was just brilliant really for any Buckie fan. So that's probably my biggest memory of Buckie games, but I probably attended more than I can mind, to be honest, but I tried to get along as much as I could with my dad and my granddad taking me as well. So
yeah, could you have ever imagined you playing on that pitch that you saw when you were younger?
Probably at that age, no. I always would have loved to think I could have made it that far, but you didn't really take it until you start getting into Manny's football, I suppose. But I always loved football, and that was always probably a big ambition of mine. Probably being younger, I think it is everybody around here. You can play for your local team. And especially with the success of Buckie's had in recent years, I couldn't have dreamt for it to go any better, really. So I'm chuffed that he's signing new. So
you were briefly with the youth ranks at Vale. Talk a bit about.
So I was initially in Buckie, and then I looked. Was a friend for school that said if I wanted to go to the Vale, and it was kind of at that point it was a kind of better setup at the Vale. So I went along to a few games, and they liked the player I was. So I think it was like 14. I was about 14, 15 when I joined Vale, and that was really good. The setup was brilliant. It was Kevin Smith, he was a manager at the time, and Graham Geddes for Keith, he was also a manager with a great wee squad. Loved every minute of it. It was good to that was like my proper first experience of living aside games really, and it was difficult going into that games because when I was younger I was probably not the biggest lad. I was probably the smallest in the team, but then I kind of just got used to it. We get used to the physical standard, and then the coaches helped me a lot, especially Graham. I still keep in contact with him and Kev, so they were really good, very friendly to me and my family, very welcoming. And the health system at the Vale was excellent, really, and still is, to be fair to Devon Vale, the youth system they've got probably the best around, I would say, so credit to them for its due.
Yeah, so in terms of, do you think that kind of prepared you for, when you went into the juniors in terms of that?
Probably did, yeah. It was probably when I went to, once I finished at Vale, then I joined again with Buckie, and then I went back to I went to play for Cullen FC. That was my first taste of men's football, and we've got a lot of credit to them now, so that's how I eventually got to Buckie Rovers, where I went in the junior league. So I still go to the Cullen games, and a lot of things close to Stuart Seller needing there to kind of took me into Manny's football, and then that kind of prepared me for juniors and stuff. And at that point, I was kind of on the stretch as well. So I was maybe 5'8", and then I grew to about 6 foot in the space of about a summer. So that probably helped me adjust to junior football as well. But a big thanks to Colin, really, for kind of getting me ready for juniors football as well as Devon Vale.
So how did the opportunity come about with the Buckie Rovers?
So it was through Colin. There was one of the, because it's just different. So the welfare season's through the summer and juniors is through the winter. And one of the Buckie Rovers players, Scotty Mayer, he was playing at Colin for the summer. And he invited me along to Rovers and asked the manager if he would have a look at me. So I kind of went in there, maybe caring if I would get a sniff or that. But then I ended up getting a start. I think it was left back. I left back in centre half. And I played really well. I was probably one of the youngest in the teams. I was only 16, 17 at the time. So got into juniors football at 16. You kind of make sure what to expect, because I was quite a big loon and I could look after myself. I got on fine and the manager seemed to really tick to me, and I just kind of grew and grew from there. So
yeah. So did you always imagine yourself in the Highland League at some point? Was that always the kind of aim?
To be honest, when I was playing for Rovers, I never really even thought it was kind of possible, but I just kind of got more confident in my ability.
Yeah.
And again, I kept growing physically, and then that kind of helped me I eventually got like regular minutes for the Rovers, and then I think it was I moved to Devon side when I was like 17, maybe 18. I think I moved to Devon side 19, and that's where I kind of got noticed for the Vales. So I think when I was playing Rovers, it probably wasn't really on my mind. I was just enjoying playing men's football at a decent enough standard, so I was quite happy. So it didn't really cross my mind. But as soon as the opportunity arose, I was absolutely delighted I wasn't going to turn it down.
Yeah. Was there ever any other options when Vale came in for you?
No, it was just Vale really, because I'd literally signed for Devon's side. Maybe I'd only played about 6 games. It was kind of like during COVID as well when I was signing for Vale. So I played about 6 games, and I knew I knew they'd contacted Devon's side to try, because they were looking for a new centre half. And at that point, I was quite young, and they probably took a bit of a gamble on me. Craig, they probably came to watch me. I think Ross Aiken was a big part in me coming to the Vale. He was in contact with me. So
yeah. So how did you find adjusting to the Highland League first?
Definitely, it was the first 6 games. I almost thought, I was kind of doubting myself. I was like, I'm not really sure I'm up to this, because the tempo and the amount of time you get on the ball it's such a step up for junior level that I was used to. But what you had, Craig Stewart and Michael Morrison, they were excellent with me, and they kind of were patient and realised I was only a young loon, and there was a good squad of boys at that time as well, and they just kind of were patient with me, and I just grew from there. Really got more confident each game. But like I say, the tempo, like my first game I think was against Brecon. I think they were new in the league, so I was thrown into the deep end. No, it was really good. It's kind of a good challenge for yourself as well, just kind of getting used to that level. But once I got settled in, I felt really confident. I just grew strength to strength there, really.
Yeah. Do you think also like kind of learning the tricks of the trade in terms of certain things, maybe go down a bit or, lean into stuff like that? Do you think that's helped a lot in terms of?
Definitely just watching other players, even in training and stuff, just little knocks and fit to D and fit an A to D, and just be more streetwise, switched on, clever, like back fouls and stuff, how to use your body. That was, Michael Morrison, he was brilliant with that, because he used to be a centre half, so he kind of taught me. He was brilliant when I first went to Vale. It was sad to see him go when he did leave, but he was really a great mentor, because he taught me things and being a centre half himself. So that was a big help.
Yeah. You're also, I remember near the start, you were chipping in the goals as well a lot. You seemed to go on a run where you were scoring a lot of goals.
I think
you were always kind of working on or wanting to add to your game just to.
It was just kind of, it just kind of happened more than anything. I think for a first joined, I think we got up to like 8th in the league, so it wasn't too bad, but then we lost a few players, Chris Smith, and we were kind of on the downward spiral of games, and then it was coming late into games and we were doing a goal or something, and Craig, I was a bit glad, so he just threw me up front, kind of got, I think I scored, I can't remember if it was 3 and 4 games or something, but I just got it just kept seeming to come up with late equalisers or just a goal at the end to just try and help us. So I kind of came into emergency striker in the last 5-10 minutes. So it's always been someone I've had because I used to be more up front when I was younger, and I used to play centre midfield and stuff, so I knew how to score. But I mean, later on in nowadays I'm more defence, but I still like to try and get forward and get a goal in my game. So
yeah, you'd be pretty tall for a striker these days because
I would. You don't get much.
Are quite small. So what was it like playing under Craig Stewart? What is he like as kind of a manager?
I couldn't speak highly enough of Craig. Well, he gave me my chance at Highland League, and he was absolutely brilliant with me through his health. 3 years he was there until he left in the back end of last season. So, I mean, he was probably more an old-fashioned kind of playing style. He didn't really, tactics weren't his thing. It was just more, just show Craig that he could actually work and work ethic, and that, which I always had, and he knew I had that. So,
yeah. But
no, I couldn't speak highly enough of Craig. He was, especially off the park, and I was like a lovely lad, and I was, as soon as I signed, we really clicked together. So he made me vice captain and stuff. So he clearly showed he had a bit of faith in me, and I had a faith in him. To be fair, I really like Craig. I couldn't speak highly enough of him.
Yeah. So in terms of the sort of players you played at Vale, were there any players you think like stood out, over the time that you were at the Vale? Would you say? Probably.
Well, when I first signed, it was Ross Aiken was still there. He was a really good right back. Still was a really good right back, but he was a big help as well to me when I first signed, welcome me aboard and stuff. But he was just a pure captain, just led by example. His work rate on and off the bar was exemplary. So definitely Ross, Shawnee McIntosh, goalie. Me and him were really close when I was there. Probably one of the best shot stoppers I've ever played. Well, I have ever played with. I put Shawnee number 1, so he's a great goalie. Harry Noble as well. He's a good friend of mine still. So just another great example of a captain, just leads how you'd want any captain to work rate and snafier to fit in a tackle, just everything you want, just sets examples that you need in a football team. So it'd be the 3 that I would say is the best players I've played with.
So in terms of what are the kind of games that you enjoyed the most at the Vale? Like the one that kind of springs to mind is the Scottish Cup game when you scored that last goal. That I remember watching the highlights recently. It was pretty mad, that game.
I think that was a great game. I think I unfortunately got sent off at the end of that game, but I got 2 bookings, so that was a slight unfortunate end to it. But I mean, it was a great game. I think we were 1-0 down, and then I think I pulled it level to a shot of about 40 yards. So it was, the keeper kind of helped me out a bit with it, but I still had to hit it there. So that was a great game, especially for a new team, kind of gelling about a few signings. Jamie McClellan I think he was at a double that day. He had a great game. So type of Scottish Cup games, you kind of, your memories stick. So that was probably a good standout for me. Obviously, being for Buckie, the Buckie derby was massive for me whenever we played Buckie, and then we had a few close games recently with them, like where we seemed to be nipping tucks. So they're probably my most fond memories. But there's a lot of other games. Every game's a memory, because like every time you step up the pitch, there's a chance to do something. So no, there's probably more than I can speak about. But
yeah. So in terms of the derbies, do you think there's still, obviously, before you signed for the Vale, like years ago, it used to be those were kind of the main teams competing in the league. Do you still think there's an kind of edge and competitiveness within the derby still?
Absolutely. I mean, you look at us, Devon Vale, the last few seasons when I played for them, it was, for me personally, and again, Harry Noble as well, us being Buckie lads, I mean, that game meant everything to me. We kind of tried to tell the rest of the team how much it meant for us to try and get a result again. I think it showed through the team, because apart with one game, I think we got absolutely battered. But other than that, I think the most times we gave them a real good run for their money. It was only 1 goal in it. We got a 0-0 against them last season. So I think that the edge in the derby is still there if you're local. Not so much. Maybe not so much for other lads. If like you're Aberdeen or Inverness, you didn't realise how much. But for me personally, it's absolutely everything to try and win that game.
So in terms of as you were like developing the Vale, were you always kind of looking for what's next, or what was kind of, because there's been talk, I mean, over the years, there's been talks of clubs, being interested in you
from my first season was just really concentrate on playing football, making sure I could actually hack it in the Highland League, which I think I proved in my first season. And after that, I think I signed another extension at the Vale, and then after that, that was the end that teams started coming in, well, making contact and asking for what my situation was. But it was probably not until like 2.5 years into my Highland League career then proper started coming in. But I was obviously under a contract at the Vale, so it was kind of just hearsay really. There was nothing ever really solid until this summer.
Yeah. So were Buckie the only club interested in you, or were there other kind of Highland League clubs or above interested? Or
there was a few other clubs. I think once I learned that Buckie was on the table, there was only ever going to be one place I wanted to sign, just because that's where I'm from. That's my home team. So there didn't really matter if I came in for my heart was always with Buckie, so that was just where I wanted to go really. But it was close last season. Buckie were interested last season when Graham Stewart was still in charge. So him and Lewis were kind of trying to get me last year, but just with my contract and stuff at the Vale, it wasn't quite happening. But fortunately, Lewis learned I was kind of wanting to move this season because there was only a year left on my deal. And then when they came in, it was just a case of getting a appropriate fee sorted, and then I was always going to sign for Buckie at that point.
How important has this move been in terms of, would you say, your development in terms of getting to the next stage in what you're wanting to do?
It's been massive, really. Buckie are obviously league champs. They're a team that are always fighting for trophies. So for me, being part of a club that is striving to win again is everything, because at the end of the day, I just want to win football games and as much trophies as I possibly can and bring a lot of pride to Buckie. At the end of the day, being a local lad, I just want to try and do the best for that club.
Yeah. So how have you found the difference in terms of from the Vale, where maybe certain games you weren't expecting to win, where now most games, I would say it's fair to say you're expected to win out with the head-to-heads, which are kind of close.
It's a lot more pressure, I would say. Like, the expectation is you must win, which I'm still kind of getting used to, because even at the Vale, I wanted to win every game, but at Buckie, we've got to win every game just because that's the standard they've set over the last 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah.
So it's taken a bit of getting used to. Like, there's a lot of expectations for players, managers, because they're at that standard. So it's just a case of me getting up to speed with them and trying to help the team as much as I can. But it's been good so far. We haven't had the best start, but I mean, I'm sure things will click because there's too many good players in our team, to be honest, to continue the results that we've started the season with. So I'm sure.
So how have you been adjusting in terms of being part of a different back line? It's quite an experienced back line, and obviously you've got the guy Richards in goals who's had so much experience in the higher divisions.
It is different because at the Vale I was very much like the leader of that back line, because I was the oldest, being 23. I was, apart from Sean and Harry, I was probably the oldest in that team near enough, and I was only 23, so it was a lot of responsibility. But I think at Buckie, just to realise that there's so many good players around you, you didn't have to try and do everything yourself, really. So at the Vale, that was more like, my attitude was like, I'm going to have to try and do everything I can. But I think at Buckie, you have to realise that there's so many good players around you. You just got to get them involved, like your ball players, like Andy McCaskill, Jack McIver.
Yeah.
You should get them on the ball. Marcus Goodall as well. Just try and get him on the ball as much as you can. And obviously, like Mark Ridger's signing for us is a huge signing. His experience will be more than any money can buy, really. So he's been excellent since he's came in with me. He's very down to earth. You'd think sometimes a keeper at his stature would probably come in and, rule the roost, but he's been absolutely spot on, and he's already, every game he kind of takes me aside and speaks to me, so he's been absolutely brilliant with me so far. So yeah, it's been good so far.
Yeah. So what's kind of been the biggest learning curve so far being at Buckie, would you say?
Like I say, I think it's just, I didn't have to do so much things myself. I think you've just got to really trust your team.
Yeah.
And just kind of, as a defender, my job is basically to just defend and then feed the ball into your main attacking players, because the front six that we've got, only front six, bench included, whoever is playing, there's so much talent in that front six, so they can really hurt teams. So I think it's just taking a bit of responsibility, like just dropping the pressure off myself that I didn't have to do anything and just trusting other players and just really focusing on defending and doing the simple things right, I think.
So in terms of, obviously you've got family connections with Buckie Thistle as well, your great granddad and your uncle. Can you talk a bit about them? What was their careers like at Buckie?
My great granddad, I'm not really too sure of it because it was a good bit before my time, but I mean, I know he played for Buckie, so I'd be the third generation of my family to play for Buckie, so it's a huge honour in that regard as well. But my uncle was Buckie goalkeeper for over 10 years. He got a testimonial. He played in many a big game. I think he saved a penalty for Tommy Burns when Celtic visited as well, so he's got a good claim to fame there. But he was a real fan's favourite, I believe, so the great player for Buckie and a good servant. So it's lovely to keep the family tradition going, being the third generation. So it's really proud for me and my family to keep that going. So no, it's been really good.
Have you got ambitions above the Highland League?
Right now, my focus is purely on Buckie. Like, I just want to go doing this, being the best player I can for Buckie, and everybody minding me for that. So, certainly right now, my only focus is on Buckie and just trying to win as much games as possible and hopefully win a good few trophies with them. So that's my main ambition, just use nothing above.
So far in your career, who do you think's been the best players you've played against?
Probably the recent games we've played. With that cup we were just in, we're playing the likes of Falkirk, Dundee United there. I mean, they had some fantastic players. The lad I was playing up against, Falkirk, number 11, I can't remember his name, but I was playing left back that day and he was an absolute handful, like rapid. So the pace of them boys, the full-time players, is just, it's on a different level. So it is an adjustment to make. But Highland League level, probably, well, when I played at Vale, you've got Andy McCaskill, great player. Jack Murray also, he's moved to Elgin now, but me and him used to have a good tussle in the box. We were marking each other, so he's a good battle. Julian Wade, I always find him tough to play against just because how fast he is. He's a great finisher, so if he gets to the other side of you can, it's more or less a goal. Probably Scott Barber, Broch, he's a really difficult player to play against just for his kind of low centre of gravity and the way he huds you off. He's played in the league for so many years, so scored many goals. He's a real tough striker, and there's so many there you could probably name, but they would be the hardest to play against so far, I would say.
Yeah, what would you say has been your kind of favourite away day, would you say, in terms of a ground, else?
Quite a hard one. I do like going to Brechin just because it's Brechin and it's quite hostile.
Yeah.
But you seem to get a bit of abuse at Brechin, and I haven't quite learned to keep it zipped with their fans yet. I kind of give them a bit back, which isn't the best idea. But I like Nairn. Nairn's probably one of my favourite pitches in the league. Not so much for the atmosphere, just I think it's a lovely ground, so I really like playing at Nairn. Scottish Cup, if you get away time, Scottish Cup as well. I think we're away to my first season, we were away to Haddington Athletic, I think, in the Scottish Cup. So just Scottish Cup games are just on a different level. So any game away in Scottish Cup's like really good. So atmosphere seems to be there, everybody's buzzing. So Scottish Cup games are, like I say, Brechin or Nairn.
Yeah. Did you ever get to play at Fort William? Or?
I played it for Nairn actually with Highland League, but I played for under 18s, I think, at Buckie, and youth development. I played there once. I really liked that pitch. It was just a shame it kind of, just with the setting, with the mountains and stuff in the background, I loved it, but just a shame it went the way it did, really. So,
how do you stay in like shape and condition whilst having a full-time job? How do you find that?
I've never struggled with fitness and stuff. I mean, I've got two younger brothers for football and sport daft, so we never stop playing football or basketball. We're mad for basketball. We've got a hoop in the back garden, so every day we're kind of battling each other out there. So that kind of just keeps you ticking over, and then just general runs inside of football. I mean, you're training 2 times a week, so you've got other commitments as well. But I mean, if you can get out a spare run, it certainly marks a difference on the Saturday. So that's really, I've always been quite a big sturdy loon, so the gym's not really a big part of me, but I've always just kind of had that natural build, so it's kind of always been there. So it's just kind of probably just tomfoolery with my breeders. That's probably the main thing that keeps me going.
Thanks again for listening to the Highland League podcast. Make sure to subscribe on your chosen podcast platform to keep up to date with the latest episodes. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok as well, and hope to see you next time for another interesting interview.